I will be presenting to you Kenneth International Education Study Abroad Program. So let's begin. So firstly, a little bit about our organization and its origins. So when I was studying at Cardiff University, studying business management specifically, I was sitting in my classroom, and what I noticed was that most of the class were just international students, mostly coming from countries such as China, Australia, Africa, but only a handful came from countries such as India. And that got me thinking, why? We have so much opportunity out there to study abroad in whichever country we want. But why is it that almost nearly 60% of the class is just made up of Chinese students? So after doing a lot more research into the market, trying to understand what students' needs are, as well as parents, and seeing what the real gap was that is stopping people from studying abroad. And what I found out was that there is a clear knowledge gap. People simply do not know how to send their children abroad. It is difficult. People think of many questions such as, what is the process like? How much will it cost? These are all things that come into people's minds, and it can be difficult to sort of comprehend all these different types of study abroad schemes that are out there. Which one is real? Which one will get my child into the United Kingdom? So, as an organization that is charitable, we believe in one thing. We want the bright and talented students of India to study in the United Kingdom. But not only that, we are here to help these students in building their career. Now I'll explain that a little bit more later on in the presentation. So firstly, a little bit about what we aim to do in terms of our study abroad program. So firstly, we are trying to close that gap that I spoke of in the beginning, that gap in knowledge. People simply just do not know how to send their children abroad, and all these other questions and doubts that come into people's minds can be a barrier to entry for them into pursuing a course in those prestigious universities in the United Kingdom. As well as that, we are essentially trying to create a bridge that is easily accessible for Indian students to study into the United Kingdom, as well as pursue a career and living there eventually. Now, when it comes to study abroad programs, one of the main things and main issues is that it can be very, very costly. So as an organization, we are trying to lower those costs, meaning when it comes to the student and university application process, as well as the student visa process, it is entirely free of our service charges. So it is no cost to you to submit those documents to help you in those application process. We are here to essentially help you get your child abroad and assist you in that journey, not only academically in terms of getting them into university, as well as helping them in their career later on to make sure that they live in the UK and end up there indefinitely. As well as that, we know that study abroad programs can be very expensive, especially when it comes to the tuition fees of these international institutions. Of course, we all think of the cost when it comes to these sort of study abroad programs. No matter how much we sort of clear doubt and try to understand everything, the cost remains the main barrier. So what we have done is, I've done more research into this sort of field of study abroad programs and found that we have reputable institutions, banking societies within India that offer their own type of educational loan schemes. So these loan schemes help you fund your studies abroad entirely, down even to your flight ticket to go abroad, as well as covering your student visa costs. Now, of course, these banks are there to help you, and based on the research we've done, we can make sure that you end up, and your child especially ends up in the United Kingdom in the end. So that's why we have partnered with reputable banks such as Canara Bank and Bank of Baroda to give that added bit of reputation and trust in Kenneth International education, as well as reduce that barrier that sort of issue that is stopping in terms of the financial side of things, that's stopping you from studying abroad. And then lastly, when it comes to the end of your application process, what we aim to do is make it as easy and stress-free as possible. So we make arrangements in helping you find your accommodation abroad. So for example, university accommodation, or whether you want to pursue private accommodation, we assist you there as well. As well as that, we assist you in things like class enrollment, opening your bank account, as well as even helping you find part-time work, building up your CV and things like that. We assist you essentially throughout the process to make sure we're not just there to just leave you in the United Kingdom, get you accepted into those universities and just say bye-bye, tata to you. We're there to assist you, we're there to support you throughout your entire process. So now a little bit about the aims in more detail about what we're going to do. So how are we essentially closing this gap? So what we're first trying to do is break barriers, meaning that barrier we have in terms of all the doubts and questions that come into our mind when it comes to study abroad programs. See, the main issue when it comes to people studying abroad is that people simply do not know what is available out there in terms of the benefits as well as the drawbacks. We are there to assist you. As someone who has studied at Cardiff University, I can tell you exactly what to do, when to do it, and assist you in terms of the general process when it comes to studying abroad. So we are there to make a simple and transparent process that you understand. And quite simply, the competitors in the market we have in the moment, they're just not clear enough. They just don't make it simple enough for you to understand what you need to do to get studying abroad. As well as that, we are essentially being the most inclusive brand as possible as well. So what we've seen in the market based on my research, as well as our organization's research, is that many people, all these different types of organizations out there that offer study abroad programs, they're simply just targeting high-income, high-achieving students, meaning people who come from very affluent and rich backgrounds. At our organization, we want to target all different types of students. We're not just there to just help the wealthy folk. We're here to help middle income as well as low income students find a gateway into the United Kingdom. We're essentially there to target all the different types of 11, 12, as well as university graduate students and assist them in that journey and try to find them a way into the United Kingdom to study and live there and work there indefinitely. Now, you probably see, based on what I've said essentially, you've probably seen that most other types of study abroad programs offer all these features. But what's different about us is that postgraduate support we offer. Now, like I said at the beginning, I'm a graduate from Cardiff University. I've lived in the UK for over 17 years. I know the exact in and out of how to study in the UK, how the process works, and the entire scope when it comes into even career planning. So I'll tell you a little bit of a story. When I was coming near the end of my university studies and getting closer to graduation, of course we are all mostly thinking as students, even in India, we are mostly thinking, oh, how am I going to do well in the exam? But in the back of your mind, you always have a question thinking, okay, what is exactly I do next after this? Well, of course we all are looking for jobs. But what we don't understand in terms of the career side of things is, how do I exactly get that job? It is, in this climate especially now, it's very difficult to get a job, even if you're a graduate. So, in the United Kingdom, I am there, and my team is you in helping you get your graduate visa, as well as your work visa, and things like that. We are also there to assist you in CV building, interview prepping, as well as mock interviews, and all these other career building activities that we offer once you get closer to your graduation. Essentially, we are there to assist you not only on the academic side of your career abroad, but also in terms of the employment side, because we know that is what people care about the most as well. Now, how are we going to close that sort of cost gap as well. So how are you lowering costs? Now in the beginning I mentioned two main ways we're going to do that. So the first way is the university application process. So right here, now I'll explain this process a bit more to you. So firstly what we are doing is we recommend that everyone sign up to our one-to-one consultation and bring your parents along as well. Because essentially what we're trying to do during this one-to-one consultation is explain the process to you. As well as that, we want to make sure that we understand what your needs are. Why are you exactly going to the United Kingdom? Why do you want to study there? Of course, many students have all different types of reasons. But when it comes to studying abroad, there are many sorts of gateways and outlets when you end up in the United Kingdom. We had clients in the past, as well as students in the past, that studied in the United Kingdom, not only because they wanted to just study there and complete their graduation, but they wanted to work there in the long term. Is your plan, in terms of the future of your education, is to work in the United Kingdom indefinitely? Or do you want to pursue post-graduation degree? These are all questions that we ask during the one-to-one consultation and try to understand your needs and tailor it based on whatever your current needs are. As well as that, we make sure that the information we provide is accurate. So what we make sure is that we recommend that all the students bring their 10th and 12th standard mark sheets. And if you have completed your university graduation, we'll need to see your transcripts as well. Preferably all throughout the 3 years or 4 years or whatever, how many years you have studied. So based on that, then we put you in an academic profile. So that academic profile is essentially putting you in terms of what type of student you are, what type of academic background you fit into. So that could be either high achieving or just average student, or you could just be someone who's underperforming. We essentially try to find a gateway for all different types of students because we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to study abroad. So after this consultation, we then allocate a personal consultant. So this is someone that will be with you throughout your academic journey as well as the career side of things. So a little bit more on that. So this person will essentially be there to support you throughout your process and provide you regular updates in terms of how your application is going, what stage it is at. All these questions and all these doubts are cleared by this personal consultant who you build a strong relationship with. So you essentially know that you don't just sort of just sitting there hoping that you just at the end of the entire 2 to 3 month process, you'll find out that you've been admitted into a university. We want to make sure there's clear communication between us as educational consultants as well as the student who's pursuing a degree abroad. As well as that, we are there to tailor guidance based on your current needs. Of course, we know that we don't know what could happen tomorrow. Of course, anything could happen. You could have told us in the consultation previously that you wanted to study in 2 years after 2 years in the United Kingdom. And maybe your plans change the next day or even the next week. And you want to study in the United Kingdom maybe in this year only. We had students in the past like that. And if we know that information right from the beginning, we can then tailor the process to you and based on your current needs. Because we, as consultants, want to make sure that at the end of your entire process, you are successful. That is the ultimate aim here for us. As well as that, this person will be there to make sure to answer any questions you have or any doubts, to make sure that you are comfortable with our study abroad program and make sure as well that if you have any doubts in terms of your future plans, this person will be there to assist you throughout your academic and career journey as well. Now, after the creation and selection of your personal consultant, and we get all the academic information out of you during the consultation, we then create a university shortlist. So this is a list of 5 universities that we selected based on your academic profile. So this includes a lot of detailed information such as university-specific grade requirements, whether there are any language requirements, whether you need to do the IELTS academic test, as well as that if there's also scholarships and grants available to your course or program. And most importantly, we provide up-to-date information on course and living fees. So this document is probably one of the most important documents when it comes to the beginning stage of your application process that we provide you. As well as that, all the information within this document, you can be sure that it's up to date. So there is no misunderstanding in terms of what you expect from the study abroad program, as well as your university course and living fees and things like that. So all the information is regularly up to date and cross-verified with the universities themselves. So then after this, of course, there comes the personal statement. Now, based on the research I've done, and as well as studying in the United Kingdom for so many years and helping so many people study abroad, I can say wholeheartedly that the personal statement is probably one of the most important non-academic documents when it comes to your application process. Of course, you can have incredible results. You can have a great mark sheet. You can be an A-star student. You can be an A-plus student. You can even be a person who's achieved 100%. But what makes your application is your background. Why is it that you want to study in the United Kingdom? Why is it that you want to study that specific course? These are all things that need to be included in the personal statement, and that is something we can assist you with as we are experienced essay writers. So, what we essentially do is we read your personal statement. We read all those drafts that you provide to us, as well as provide guidance at the end of all those drafts to make sure that you get the best outcome in terms of your personal statement. As well as that, we provide helpful resources such as YouTube videos, as well as additional material that we prepared, such as Word documents and information that we have based on our past experiences. So I've been a personal essay writer for many people for a long time. I've done it even in my college years, before even university. I used to help people in the United Kingdom, even people who are English and British people who couldn't write their own personal statement. I, as an Indian, used to help them write their personal statements and get them into those universities that they wanted to. So you can be rest assured you will be communicating with experienced essay writers, and of course, this service as well is free of service charges. So you can be sure that you're getting access to the best education as well as information that we provide when it comes to this side of your application process as well. And then lastly comes the application to the 5 universities that we selected on the university shortlist document. Now, when it comes to the actual application process, we first create a personal email, because we want to be as transparent as possible. So we provide you a personal email which we can access and you can access to, so you can see any correspondence we have with the university, as well as whether you received any decisions or not. So you don't have to wait for us to provide you that information and hope sort of you expect us to provide that information in the end. So you have access to all that data and you have access to all those emails. So you can be rest assured that you are being sort of inside an organization and part of an organization that is so transparent that we even provide you that information. Because of course, you need to know where your application is going, whether there are any updates and whether you expect any updates. And especially whether you received a decision or not. We want to make sure you have that information ready whenever you want. So that's why we create that personal email in the beginning. Then after that comes the submission of all your documents, and we make sure that all your personal documents, such as your passport and your mark sheets, are all protected through our encryption software, because we had students in the past that were sort of worried about that thing. So we make sure that all your data and all your information is protected safely and not sold or prone to being hacked or anything like that. So you can be rest assured that the data that you provide to us, your personal information, is protected and safe. As well as that, we provide free communication to the university themselves. Now, we can always email the universities. We can even call the universities from India, of course. But it can take time to get an accurate response. Even the representatives that you call to the universities, they don't really know exactly what in terms of how to answer your questions, because they're just students in the end, they're just volunteers that are part of the university. Now, as someone who is mostly in the United Kingdom, and I'm just here for a short while right now just to do this presentation, I can speak directly to the admissions officers to provide you updates on how your application is going. So you have up-to-date information in terms of whatever questions you have, or as well as just any sort of type of application updates. We provide all that information to you, and you have direct access to the people that are looking at your application in the first place. So then I'll just go to the next slide. Now, most importantly, the most important question when it comes to study abroad programs is how much will it cost? Now, many people do not provide that information, as well as many organizations that are market right now. So what we have done is try to be as transparent as possible, so you have all that information ready to hand right here. And just be rest assured as well, you can cover all these tuition fees through our educational loan providers that are here today. And they'll explain their educational loan schemes later on in the presentation. So firstly, for the bachelor's tuition fee, they can be anywhere around £11,400 to anywhere to £38,000 per year. So that is around 12 lakhs to 39 lakhs per year. Now, typical bachelor's degrees last for 3 to 4 years in the United Kingdom, and most of them only last for 3 years. So you just multiply those figures within that range to find your course fee, essentially. Of course, you get all this information. We provide that most accurate information to you in your university shortlist. So we've just provided a range here because there are many factors when it comes to the actual course fee. So we do not want to just provide an average, because there are many outliers when it comes to averages. There are many figures and universities and courses that fees are so exorbitant as well as so low. You could even receive a scholarships and lower these tuition fees. Therefore, we provide a range to make sure that you have sort of a rough estimate, a rough range essentially, that you know that what it could be in terms of a course fee. As well as that, for people who are pursuing master's tuitions, tuition fees can be anywhere around £9,000 to £30,000 per year. And that is again around 9 lakhs to 30 lakhs. Of course, masters in the United Kingdom typically last for 1 to 2 years, but most masters only last for 1 year. And of course, the range, it can be variable and can be dependent in terms of the cost. So there are many factors when it comes to the cost of your tuition fees. It could be, for example, you could be studying at Cambridge. And when you're studying at Cambridge, the course fees are very high because it is a high-ranking university. Or you could be studying somewhere at Plymouth University, where the course fees are much lower, and you could also receive the chance to receive a scholarship. Of course, there are many reasons and many outliers when it comes to the actual final costing of the master's tuition fees as well as the bachelor's tuition fee. Now, as well as that comes the living costs. Living costs in London specifically, you probably noticed that I made London a sort of specific state in the United Kingdom that I've selected here. London is probably the most expensive city to live in the United Kingdom, as well as studying it. So living costs in London can be anywhere from £1,300 to £1,400 per year. So around 1 to 2 lakhs per year, per month. Now, of course, the living costs can vary greatly. You could also work and cover those living costs quite easily. And living costs in general are dependent on many factors. But this is sort of the average that the British Council themselves has provided in terms of the living costs in London. But when you look at the living costs in places such as Cardiff University in Wales, so last year when I just graduated, living costs were around £800 per month for me. And I covered that quite easily through working on the side, doing side projects and things like that. And so you can see quite clearly that living costs in London can be drastically higher compared to other states. So we try to look for universities that are affordable enough and in states that are very cheap for you. But of course, if you're looking for university in London specifically, because some people have family in London, we can also look at that option for you as well. But we are just noting here the cost side of things. So, what are the university requirements? Now, I just want to preface before going into this is that university course requirements are dependent on the university themselves and the course itself. But generally speaking, when we look at bachelor's degrees, the course fee, the actual requirement for the course can be anywhere from 60 to 80% in terms of your mark sheets for your 10th and 12th standard. It can be anywhere between that range depending on your examining board. But for Go Abroad, we see that it can be anywhere from 60 to 70% would be ideal in terms of your mark sheet overall average. If you have this, you are set to go to the United Kingdom and you can apply and quite easily receive admission. But of course there is another side to things as well as the personal statement and things like that you must consider when it comes to the application process. Of course, if you have lower than this, in terms of, for example, you have lower than 60%, we will try to find a university out there for you to make sure that you end up getting into the United Kingdom. So just book a consultation with us at the end of the presentation and we will try to find a gateway for you and try to find universities out there. There are some universities out there that even accepts 50% average. So just inquire with us and we'll try to find a gateway for you and try to help you out in the end as well. As well as that, you may also have to do the IELTS academic test, which is the reading, writing, listening and speaking exam. Now, of course, the components that you actually have to score in each component can be anywhere from 6.5 to 6.0. So this is sort of our grade requirement when it comes to the IELTS academic test to make sure that you have a very, very good chance to get into the United Kingdom. But there are many universities out there that just want a meager average of anywhere from 5.0 to 5.5 in each academic component of the test. Of course, it is important to note that this requirement is dependent on each university course. They can be lower, they can be higher. It depends on what course you're looking out for. Business management and other STEM-related courses, depending on the university, they could be higher, but we've seen as well as, for example, University of Anglia Ruskin in London, it can be much lower. They only look for around 5.0 in each component. But what is important to note here, and based on the research I've conducted, is that you possibly have an option to be exempt from the IELTS academic test completely. Now, in Goa, we are fortunate enough to be taught in an English medium. So if you have been taught in an English medium, you can provide a letter to us from the university or the school you studied at. You can be exempt from doing the IELTS academic test. And this is something that not many people know. So this is directly based on information that I have collated from all different types of academic officers in the United Kingdom. So they have said if you can provide that letter from your university or your school or college, for example, then you can be exempt from doing the academic test. So essentially, trying to reduce that another barrier so you don't have to do another exam when you're thinking to study abroad. And the same cases for masters when it comes to the IELTS academic test. The same sort of requirements are there, and even for the exemption part. Now, when it comes to the requirements for the master's degree, universities typically look for a 3 to 4 year bachelor's degree from a reputable university. It can also be a college, that is completely fine. Wherever you got your bachelor's from, most of these colleges and universities we have in Goa, they have been accredited by the Indian national government, so you are completely fine on that part. But in terms of the grade requirements they like to see, an overall of 50% or above would be ideal. If you have lower than this, again, we will try to find a gateway for you, so do not worry too much about it, and just inquire with us at the end of the presentation. As as someone who knows the system in and out and has studied in the United Kingdom, I know that employers look for people who have both studied and have that work experience, no matter what kind it is. Even if you've done a simple waitressing job, that can boost your application greatly compared to someone who has no work experience and has just come to the United Kingdom just to study. So that additional sort of boost you have available by working for 20 hours per week, you have that additional support in your application when it comes to the career side of things. As well as that, you then become eligible after your student visa, for example, after the completion of a graduate degree, for a graduate visa. So what the graduate visa is you can stay in the UK for an additional 2 years. So you can do various types of roles, and you can work in any type of role essentially, any type of graduate position or anything really. And this is applicable for both master's and bachelor's degree students. So it is available there for everyone. So I'll just tell you a little bit in terms of when it comes to the employment side of things. So what we highly recommend all students do once they get admitted into the university and get settled into their accommodation is seek out these people called careers advisors. So these are people within the careers department of your university. They're essentially there to support you in becoming the most employable person in the United Kingdom. They are there essentially to help you in things like CV writing, interview prep. You can even book interview mock exams with them. And especially and most importantly, they have access to a wide and powerful network of employers. So these people have decades of experience in the field of sort of the career side of things, and they will help you get a job at the end of your graduation. So look out and seek out that option out there, because you are essentially paying for that with your tuition fees. So what we highly recommend all students seek out is these career advisors right in the beginning, because they will help you in the end get a job. Of course, we are there to support you as well, but what we recommend is look for these people, because they are the people that will help you live in the United Kingdom indefinitely. So, how much will the student visa cost itself? Now, the student visa can cost anywhere, it is essentially a fixed cost of £360. That's just a fixed cost essentially. So you just have to pay that when you're applying for the student visa, and that is for international applicants. So for people who are inside, it is a little bit cheaper, people inside the United Kingdom, but for most international students, everyone are essentially applying from here, they will have to pay £363, which is around 30,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees. And then you also have to pay a thing called health surcharge. So this is £470 per year. And you essentially have to pay this fee depending on how long your course actually is. So for example, if your course is 3 years, you just multiply 470 by 3, and then you get your health surcharge figure, which you just directly have to pay with your application. Now, what the health surcharge essentially is for example, say if you become sick in the United Kingdom, when it comes to the actual logic of the student visa, you don't actually have recourse to public funds, meaning you can't use free services such as the national healthcare system and things like that. But when you pay this health surcharge, you can do things like register at a local GP, as well as get access to that medicine and care that the NHS has to offer as well. So you have to pay this fee. It is a mandatory fee, but you can essentially think of it as health insurance when you're traveling abroad. And of course, you want to be safe and secure when you're abroad. So that's why you have to pay this fee.
Book a free consultation to learn more about Kenneth International Education's free study abroad program at www.kennethinternational.co.uk.